expecting?
We had over 15 bits, so around 15 to 20.
Okay.
So hello everyone and welcome to this portfolio workshop as part of our Ace Your Application event. So here we'll be talking about different programs in fashion, interiors and product design. So what will we cover in this session? So we'll cover what courses at Middlesex actually require a portfolio and an interview, the different interview questions for you to start thinking about and preparing for, the format of your portfolio and the content of it as well, the different ways for you to present your portfolio, and we'll have a little bit of a look at different careers that our graduates have gone into and graduates' final work as well. So the different courses that require a portfolio and an interview are product design, fashion communication and styling, fashion design, fashion textiles, art and design foundation, interior architecture and interior design.
Hello there, my name's Emma Dick and I am interim head of the design department. So I'm just going to say a few very generic words about the process and the kind of timeline for getting your application ready, and then I'm going to pass over to my colleagues Ben, Iman, Alan and Kate, who are going to talk you through the specific elements of what your portfolio will look like for interiors, for fashion or for product design. So our process is all students will be asked to upload a digital portfolio. Okay, now when Kate comes to talk to you about product design, she might say it's a little bit different there, but in general, you need to prepare a portfolio. We recommend that you upload your portfolio as a single PDF. Alternatively, you can submit a Microsoft Word document with a link, a URL to view your portfolio on a separate platform, such as Instagram, Behance, or your website. Each course will provide you with clear instructions. So if you're not sure, just check the application page for your course. Next slide, please, Anjali. So you will have a Meet the Tutor event. We want you to think about this rather than thinking of a scary formal interview process. We just want you to think of the interview process like coming to meet the tutor, see all the amazing facilities that we have at Middlesex. We know that deciding to study at university can be a really, really big step. So we'll invite you to a Meet the Tutor event where you'll be able to ask as many questions as you like that you may have about the course, see our facilities and the campus. You'll be able to find out more about how we teach, the student support that we offer, and anything else at all that may be on your mind. Okay, so it's really about meeting us, not a scary process of being interviewed. Questions that you might want to prepare for when you meet your tutor. Think about a clear reason for why you've chosen that particular specialist course. Think about why you've applied to Middlesex for that chosen course. Have you visited Middlesex before? And also think about what are your own personal interests. These kind of bits of information your tutor will be really, really interested in finding out so that they can genuinely find out a little bit more about you as a person and your creative interests. So now we have a little few slides about content and format of the portfolio. And we've got some very generic tips that might apply to portfolios in general, but once I've finished introducing this, Ben, Iman, Alan and Kate are going to take you through some really specific tips for thinking about the different subjects of interiors, fashion and product design. So general tips we can think about for presenting any portfolio of work is, of course, present your work neatly and against a white background. Think about avoiding overly crowded pages. Give your work plenty of space to be seen on the page. You can bring your sketchbooks or scan a number of sketchbook pages together. And our advice to you would be avoid including too much text. No annotation, but small captions or project titles are useful. 3D artworks can be photographed against a neutral backdrop, and large 2D work can be photographed or scanned and reduced to fit the size of your portfolio. Your portfolio should represent you, your interests, your way of doing things, and your ambitions. Your portfolio can cover a range of subjects such as typography, layout, photography, life drawings, illustrations, printmaking, animations. Everyone will have a different portfolio. That is actually something really important to understand, okay? There's no set, correct way of doing a portfolio. Please be confident that we want this to represent your comfortable, confident self with your best form of creativity, okay? So always include at least one piece of work that shows a skill in the course that you've applied for. Not everything needs to be finished. Development work matters as it shows your process and the way that you think. Show us your ideas, your thought processes, and your visual research, and include work that shows how you can respond to a brief. That's quite important too. So we've got some beautiful examples there, which show that your sketchbook can be of any size or format, and obviously including images of cats is not mandatory, but always taken very well. And look at all the different ways of thinking about how you can show off, really show off your drawing skills and the full range of your creative abilities. You want your portfolio to represent you and to capture and show your ideas and experimentation honestly.
Excellent, thanks, Emma. So my name is Ben, and I represent Interiors Year 1 in particular. So I'd be the person that would be mostly looking at kind of your portfolios that you submit and things. So I just wanted to take you through kind of our world and how we see it and sort of things we might expect to see if you're kind of submitting a portfolio. Okay, so yes, as interiors, we cover two courses. We have interior design and interior architecture, slightly different approaches to a similar subject, but it's a really interesting world. And it's one perhaps you don't come across in those early stages at school or college. So don't panic if you haven't sort of got any drawings of buildings and things. We perhaps don't expect that immediately a portfolio. What we want to see really is sort of young, creative and exciting people, people that have got something to say artistically and with a bit of design behind you, hopefully. Portfolio should ideally for us contain sort of 10 to 15 pieces of work of varied forms. So again, that can, you know, coming from schools, colleges, places like that, might be collage, there might be some sketching, hopefully some photography, things like that. We just want to kind of see how you see the world, how you kind of capture it, how you kind of you know, communicate it as well. So anything goes really. We're really excited to see whatever you have. If you've got some little models you've made, we'd love to see those, things like that. So in particular, three-dimensional work, because we're kind of from a 3D world. It's good you show a range of work using varying techniques, drawings and painting, such as still life. So you might have done some of that before, some life drawings, figures, drawings of views where you live are great to see. Drawings from imagination, absolutely fine. Examples of making, so this is kind of the 3D world. So any little models you made, if you've done any work with clay before, you know, whatever you fancy showing us, we'd love to see it. Artistically taken or Photoshop photographs can also be interesting, or digital media. So if you've ever done some Photoshop work, a bit of collage with that, it's great to see. Those are kind of skills we look for later on. Not everything in your portfolio has to be finished work. I think that's really important to say. You can show us sketches that were your preparation for the finished pieces or test pieces or even work that went wrong but shows that you had some courage to sort of try something different. And we're all up for that. We kind of often actually prefer to see kind of the working out. It's lovely to see the final finished, polished things, but actually love to see the kind of run up as well. So don't be afraid to show your kind of early sketches. That would be good to see. Actually, next, thank you very much. Just wanted to show you a couple of examples. This is a first year's work from this year, and that's the kind of things that you'd be going on to do. So you can see we kind of work with models all the time. We do 3D stuff. We try and be as exciting and interesting as possible. So again, it's what we're really looking for in interiors is that word experience, and we're trying to imagine with those little people and how they feel like that they're walking through that door. So yeah, colourful, lively. As you can see, Emma mentioned a minute ago, just on a white background, clearly laid out, nice amount of space around it so we can understand what's going on. Obviously, that's first year work. We don't perhaps expect it to that standard, but anything you've got, we'd love to see it. And this is kind of more examples of kind of first year work and things we do. So you can see it's a real range here. Again, you might have some great photography. We'd love to see that, because I think we do a lot of photography. We wear a lot of hats in interiors. We kind of approach lots of different subject areas within it. You can make models out of anything you like, really. It can be paper, it can be card, it can be bits of plasticine. As long as it's kind of getting your camera down nice and low, you're kind of showing us the experience, or in this case, there's one overhead to kind of show us how the layout is. That's great. We love to see bits of sketching. These sketches can be really simple. They can be really quick, just to kind of show what your thinking is. That's totally fine. And then the top left there, we've kind of got a bit of a collage. That was actually a physical collage. It was a student just pulling bits of magazines together to kind of show an experience. And in this case, a little fashion sort of pop-up store, which was quite cool. And love drawing. We do loads and loads of drawing in interiors. So sketching, get out there, draw bits of buildings. It can be your bedroom, it can be your lounge, whatever you want to do. You know, go and see bits of the city, sketch from outside. That's what we want to see. And as you can see, these sketches, although they're quite nice and tidy, but they're kind of rough around the edges as well. You can see someone's just thinking while they're doing them. That's kind of what we're really after. And these, we just wanted to show you kind of what we do as interiors, because I think sometimes people aren't always aware of kind of what interior architecture and interior design are. And actually, you know, if you think of all the buildings in all the world, there are so many sort of insides of those, and that's kind of where we go, and in different ways. And this is some examples of where we get to in kind of final year work. So you see still model making. We've got some incredible workshops here at Middlesex, where we've got laser cutters and 3D printers and woodworking, metalworking, plastic, and everything you can imagine. So we push that all the way through the course, right from sort of day one. It's always about making three-dimensional spaces, but then we'll kind of show you all the other tools of how to render and how to kind of make spaces come to life, essentially, and show the atmosphere, show the experience all the way through. Again, these are a few more examples of kind of final year's work. I think the thing about Middlesex in particular, and I'm sure Emma would back me up on this, I think we really celebrate kind of that individual spirit. And as she said in her introduction, we want to see who you are. You know, we're not about sort of churning out lots of people who are exactly the same. We want you to kind of bring your energy, bring your spirit to it. So as you'll see from these examples, Evangeline skips onto the next slide as well, they kind of all have very different sort of feeling about them. They're all showing interior spaces, and they're all showing architecture, but in a very different and diverse way, which we really celebrate here. And that's something we really champion as tutors at Middlesex. And so just go through next one, Angela. Yeah, so I think it's one on the left here. She was a big Wes Anderson fan, so she kind of stylized it all in the style of a Grand Budapest Hotel. That was kind of her starting point, and that's where that interior went. But you can see we kind of have visuals, we kind of have drawings. There's even little details right down to kind of a bottle opener and things there. So we kind of really think every level, we kind of think right from that kind of small item that you might hold in your hand, right up to kind of the scale of a city. So we kind of really think about all of those possibilities in the world of interiors, which is really exciting. I think that might be me, Angelique. There's just that last slide there. That's just to show you a glimpse of our studios, and you can see kind of lots of the models laid out and portfolios. It's perhaps not always quite that tidy, but that was for a particular show. And we do kind of put on shows, and we kind of show off our work at the end of the year. Again, kind of get you into those workshops all the time. At the bottom right corner there, that's Draft. That's actually a website we have. If you kind of Google Middlesex Draft magazine, that should ping up, and it will show you lots and lots more examples if you're excited about the world of interiors. But for now, for your portfolios, what we want to see is kind of your creativity. Whatever you've got at this stage, show us your drawing, show us your photographs, show us your models. We'd love to see it just clearly laid out so we can understand what's going on. Thanks very much.
Fantastic. Thanks for that, Ben. Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Iman, and I'm the Graduate Academic Assistant here at Middlesex. So I'll be working with you, who will potentially be our new first years in September. And I work across all the different programs and on the Fashion Foundation as well. So next slide, please. Thank you. So a lot of the things that have already been said, I will possibly repeat, but coming from a fashion perspective. So your portfolio is a collection of your creative work that introduces you and explains your interests and skills. that is our first chance of knowing who you are as a creative, as someone who wants to study either textiles or fashion design with us at Middlesex. And we would like for your portfolio to be about 10 to 15 pages long and include a variety of work. So similar to what Ben said with interiors, we would love to see drawing, some research, primary research. If you've gone to a really cool exhibition and you've done some quick doodles or drawings, we want to see your initial response to these things. We would like to see if you've done any sampling, if you've got skill in painting or drawing, or if you like to make things in 3D, anything that you're good at. We want to see your best qualities on show. It's not you don't have to be modest and humble. This is a chance for you to show us who you are and what you're capable of doing and bringing to your potentially future degree. It should show your interest in a knowledge of the area of fashion you are applying for. Now, this is something that may come as a challenge to those who are probably studying something at the moment that isn't fashion related. We have that a lot. Great thing is, do not panic. We know that there are students who have a gift and an eye for fashion, but just aren't studying it at the moment. So what we suggest you do, if that is you, is to possibly set yourself your own brief, or again, go to a museum or an exhibition and see if there's something that inspires you and kickstarts your own personal project. And you can do your own personal research or project that is really fascinating and interesting to you. And just be honest and say, look, I'm currently studying all A levels in science or mathematics, but I really, really love fashion. And that does not stop you or hinder you. Again, we just want to see that you've got some sort of skill and understanding in garment construction. So if you've used a sewing machine, we want to see that you've sewn something together, if possible, that again, you can draw, you have an understanding and an eye for color, for silhouette, for bringing things together. That's what we want to see. And then also your portfolios can be physical books or binders, no larger than A3. And then also you will of course submit an online digital portfolio. And again, as Emma said earlier, it will be submitted as a single PDF. Now, in terms of the whole Meet Your Tutor day that you'll be invited to, definitely do not come empty-handed, definitely bring your physical portfolio with you. We're not going to tell you off if you bought it. And if you haven't got one, not a problem either. But if there's something that you really want to show us, definitely bring it. It can only just allow us to know who you are more quicker and know what you're capable of doing. So if that's the case, in your portfolio, we would love to see any samples, again, anything that's tactile. If you've got a finished garment or a finished painted piece, etc., bring those things in. Of course, we want you to be critical and we don't need you to bring in everything. So it's a chance for you to analyze what it is you want to bring in, but definitely bring in something with you that definitely represents your skill your best skill set, if anything. Next slide, please, Anjali. Thank you. So again, some more portfolio guidance. So we expect to see a variety of visual work that may be made up from projects undertaken at GCSE level, A level, BTEC, or for those of you who are doing a foundation course, what your final major project might be about, or something you've looked at in your first term, or anything similar that may include independent work. So some of you actually may have your own businesses or maybe collaborating with somebody already. Put that in your portfolio. We want to see that you've got some breadth and some depth to you. So again, we want to see a keen interest in fashion, examples of research and design development. So if you're not sure of what that means, we want to see drawing. If you've got any CAD work, so computer aided design work, we want to see, again, sampling, all that equates to your design development. Again, examples of your skills. So again, sampling. So you might have skills in screen printing or embroidery, or again, garment construction, or any kind of textile skill. We want to see that. Evidence of your own interest within art and design. So there might be a culture you might be really fascinated by, or a designer that you really, really like. Put that in there. We want to see that as well. And your ability to document your ideas and creative process from start to finish. Now, again, we mentioned earlier about you don't have to include finished work, absolutely. But it would also be really, really nice to see a brief synopsis of a project you've started and there's been a final outcome, just so that we could see your process and how you ended up from A to B to C to D. But of course, we're not going to penalize you if you don't have a finished outcome or if you're still working on, for instance, your final major project. That is not a problem at all. And then just overall, ask yourself this question: is what I'm presenting, is what I'm showing clearly communicating my ideas and what I want to say about myself? And if so, great. If not, no problem. Go back to the drawing board and just mix things around a bit more. That is not a problem. Next page, please, Anjali. Again, this is just some design work from some of our previous students. And again, these are just some examples of things that you may want to include in your portfolio. So again, some cool illustration and drawing, collage work and initial responses to work as well. And that you could be looking at research. We do that a lot on our degree courses as well. We get students just to collage and thrash out ideas really, really quickly. Again, some photography, draping on a stand. You might want to work on a body, you might not have a mannequin at home, so grab a sibling, grab a parent, grab a friend, and start working with found objects as well in your home, as this could be a really cool concept and probably even initiate a project you might want to do over summer, etc. So just think about these things. Don't overthink it, but think about how can you use what you have around you, if resources are limited, to make some interesting work to add to your portfolio. Next slide, please. And then again, just some more textile references for students who are more textile, more textile related. And so again, some sampling of any samples that you've done. Some of you may have text files that you've been working on as well. Do bring those in. Of course, put them together nicely and neatly, but definitely bring these things in because it shows us the level that you have been working at, either on your GCSE, A levels or foundation. Again, if you've got any digital work or digital collage, if any of you like to work on Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, put those things in. Do not be shy. We want to just see the scope of your skills. And again, in the bottom right corner, this is a great page to show you working with your samples and putting them again on like a mini mannequin or quarter scale if some of you have those at college, or again, getting items or clothing, fabrics, and just moulaging on a friend, on a body, on a parent. We want to see fun things as well. Nothing, it doesn't have to be too serious and too conservative, I promise. So we want to see how you interact and do those things in your own work space at the moment. And I'm going to pass on to my wonderful colleague, Alan, who's going to talk a bit about the fashion communication and styling course and what you're going to have to do in your portfolio for that.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alan Davis, and I teach on the fashion communication and styling course in the first year. So I'm most likely to be looking at the portfolios that would be sent in for that. And it is a broader course in the sense that we cover lots of different pathways. So fashion communication covers and styling covers styling, photography, graphic design, three-dimensional design, interior design for fashion specific events, like fashion shows. So it's a very interesting course in that sense, as we're really interested in seeing lots of variety in your application as well. So if you have work that includes fashion styling, photography, lots of different kind of inclusions of photo shoots, if you've worked on those in the past, we want to see work as a range from your A level and also on your foundation if you're on a foundation course. And here's a slide which just has a range of work, which is an example of some of the projects that you could include. Next slide, please. And there also, we want to see the kind of processes that you might be going through as well. So if you are doing photo shoots, how are you going about those? What is the way that you're actually putting those together, the models that you might be using, the cameras that you might be using, the applications that you might be using. We want to see how you go about kind of putting all those ideas together. We're very much an ideas generated course, and that's what we're looking for when we're looking at these portfolios, to see different concepts that can be applied. And similar to how the other tutors have mentioned before, we want to see that you can work to a brief. So a start to finish within the portfolio is always good, so we can see how you've gone through that brief. We're interested in projects which you are initiating, that are self-initiated, and show a range of inspirations that really give us an insight into who you are as a student. We have a really diverse range of students that come to Middlesex, and it's a really great course. So we really want to see how all the different aspects of your work can come together. It doesn't matter if you have tried lots of different varieties of outcomes. So if you have got styling, if you have got photography, you've got graphics, perhaps you've made a zine, or started to produce some projects which are printed work as well. We'd love to see that, if you could photograph that. As the portfolio guidelines, it is similar to the fashion design in the sense that we're looking around 15 to 20 pages. And if you are coming to the open days as well, we'd love to see anything physical in person as well, but don't worry if you don't have that. PDF is absolutely fine. But here's an example of some work which a first-year student has actually produced. It was early work that was made within the first project, which is fashion communication skills. So it really shows the kind of breadth of work that they undertake. And if we have a look at the next slide, please. And then here we've got some projects which students have worked on in first and second year. So we work with collage, photography. We've also been using some advanced technologies like three-dimensional scanning. And the students are really broad in the sense that they will undergo all of these different aspects of the course, but they will specialize mostly in their third year, working either along a kind of a pathway of photography, styling, or art direction, but also experimenting with new media as well, as we're very interested in seeing the new pathways that can come out from fashion communication and styling. Next slide, please. We also work to briefs, so live briefs, and with projects which range working with brands and advertorials. So we're looking at working with magazines. So we're interested in kind of what you have to show us from your fashion knowledge as well. So if you're looking at fashion communication, we'd like to see that in terms of research of what can you show us about your existing knowledge of fashion communication and styling, because we really want to see what you're interested in and what that kind of like brings to the course as well. And next slide, please. And some of our graduate showcase, just to kind of recap on, some of our students have gone on to work on some fantastic projects. This is Jared Bell, who worked with Balenciaga on a campaign, creating sim-like illustrations that were animated. And they were the creative director for that project. So our students have gone on to some really fantastic projects, and we want to see your interest in brands and where you might want to take that in the future as well. Next slide, please. Again, some more graduate showcase of work where the students have worked on a range of different projects, both photography, styling, animation, and also set design within the projects. And next slide, please. And this is a range of graduate work which has been, which includes animation and film as well. So it really shows the breadth and depth of some of the work that is produced on fashion communication and styling. So, thank you.
Okay, I think you're on mute there, just to let you know.
Oh, thank you. Always the way. Start that again. I'm Kate. I'm the program leader for product design at Middlesex. So there's been loads of really good input so far about what a portfolio means, about ways to think about the kind of content that you're putting together, I think, which is relevant to any creative program that you're applying to. So there's a few things we do a little bit differently in product design, but I think there's been some really useful insights, and I'll be repeating some of that content. So we've got our first applicant session on campus next week. We're really excited to bring new applicants onto campus. Generally, what we do, the structure of the day, is that we'll have a program talk, we'll have a facilities tour, we'll give applicants a chance to meet and chat to current students on the program, and then we'll chat with them individually over their portfolios. Now, the goal of these Meet the Tutor events is to give us a chance to understand a little bit more about you. We want to find out about your skills, your experience, the design processes that you've been through, but it's also a really great chance for you to find out more about the program, what it's like to be a student with us, and to ask loads of questions. So, as many people have said so far, please don't be intimidated by the idea of a process and an interview. Think of it more as an informal chat and a celebration of your experiences so far and the work that you've done. Please come armed with questions, because we really like answering them and talking to you a little bit more about the program. So we're looking, when we look at applicants, for passion and potential. So we know when we look at product design portfolios, the content in those portfolios is largely directed by things like the educational experiences so far. So which exam board are you working with? What kind of facilities do you have available to you in school? What kind of expertise do your teachers have? And that means that portfolios and curated design projects that happen in school are driven by all of those factors. Now, we're looking beyond those. We're looking beyond the work that you've done in school and college to find out more about you and your process. So when we look at your portfolio, we won't be sitting reading every word on every single page, but we'll be looking at the breadth of work that you've done, the kind of approach that you've taken to design. One thing that we always say to people is include the work that you're most proud of. Don't put in things which you feel that you need to apologize for or weren't quite good enough. We love seeing things that have gone wrong where you've learned about a process, but show us your best work. Show us the things that you want to talk to us about. Show us the things that make you really excited about design. Show us a range of skills. As many people have said so far, show us from brief to final outcome. We're not just interested in the final outcomes, but we want to see your kind of problem solving approach that you take. What's your sketching like? What kind of prototyping skills do you have? Which bits of the process really excite you with design? And you'll see as we go through the slides a range of photographs of student work that happens on the program. We're also really interested in, sorry, can we go back one slide just for a second? Thank you. Really interested in your personal projects that you do outside of school or college. And this could be any kind of creative activity that you do that can help us understand a little bit more about you. So do you love painting? Do you love photography? Have you got a 3D printer at home? Show us some of those things that you work on, things that you do in your spare time, so that we can understand a little bit more about you. We also have people that come from non-traditional backgrounds on the program, and lots of these people apply that maybe don't have the traditional product design project that they can show from school or college. So if that's you, again, it's not a problem, but find other interesting things that you can show us to help us understand about your creative process. So set yourself a creative project. Find creative things that you might have done at work if you're working at the moment. Go and paint, go and take photos, go and to museums, tell us about things that inspire you. Next slide, please. So we're slightly different from the other programs in that we don't ask for a digital upload of the portfolio before any Meet the Tutor events. So only overseas applicants will be uploading a portfolio for us. So we like you to bring a physical portfolio on the day, and any format of portfolio is absolutely fine. So something that's easily transportable. We generally chat to students for around 10 to 15 minutes. Now, we don't expect you to prepare a 10 to 15 minute presentation about your work, but we'd like you just to tell us a little bit about the projects that you've done. And as we flick through the pages, we can talk through and ask you questions about some of those activities. We say kind of 10 pages of work as a rough guide, but it will vary vastly depending on the kind of work that you want to show us. So it's absolutely fine to bring more, and we'll just go through the pages more rapidly and focus on the things that we're excited about and interested in. Consider when you put the portfolio together, what order are you going to put the work in? How are you going to tell the story? What kind of messages do you want to tell us about your creative practice? Some people prefer to bring digital portfolios rather than physical ones. Again, that's absolutely fine. Please be aware that we can't plug in USB drives or hard drives to our university laptops. So you'll need to bring a device to show us if that's the case, so a tablet or a laptop. If it's a URL, that's absolutely fine, and we can view that with you on our own computers. People often get really nervous about the idea of putting a portfolio together. So it's really important to reassure you that there is no right way to do a portfolio. And what we want to see is you and your creative process shining through. So everybody's content will be different, but we're looking for your passion and enthusiasm about designing the work that you show us. But if you are really worried, please feel free to drop me an email. You can find my email address here or on the university website, if you just want to talk through any kind of queries or issues that you have about it. If you are applying from overseas and uploading a portfolio online, please do try and submit just a single PDF document for us. Next slide, please. So I grabbed just a few images that represent our program. Now, product design is an incredibly broad program with an incredibly broad skill set. And our graduates go on to do a range of different jobs from across the product design and product design engineering arenas. Now, what we find is when people apply to us, we don't expect you to have all of the skill set in place already. You might come in as somebody who's really good at drawing from a more fine art background. You might have come from a slightly more engineering background, and you're really great at CAD and kind of technical constructions. Some people have a more general kind of base level approach across all of those skill sets. Now, your first year with us, we talk about enculturation of product design. We'll teach you how to be a product designer, and we'll give you all of the skills that you need to be successful. So don't worry when you're putting your portfolio together if there's core bits of the skill set that you think are missing, because that's our job to teach you those when you come to join us. Next slide, please. A couple of examples of graduate work too, just because it's interesting to see the kind of breadth of work that you might go on to. So this is a graduate project from a couple of years ago, and the student became really interested in medical design when he was studying with us. His final major project was a skin cancer detection device. So he went through everything from the user research, looking at the kind of psychological effects of people that have got cancer and monitoring mold changes of shapes and sizes. He did proof of concept prototyping, where he managed to get a technical rig that was working. And our students generally work right through to the level of design for manufacture, and you can see the CAD render on the right-hand side. So our students exit with high-level portfolios, career ready to go into an industrial design position. Next slide, please. In contrast, another student was really interested in design activism and social design and environmental aspects of the product design profession. So she carried out a project looking at the way that we understand household items and the way that we're interacting with them. So she took an iron as an example, broke the product down, looked at the kind of low-cost throwaway society around those, and managed to design a product concept of a modular iron where any element could be removed, replaced, reused, and looked at the entire life cycle around that product. So very different outcomes from the same program. Next slide, please. Now, we always say to people when they're applying to us, there's lots of really great product design courses across the country. The best way to understand a course that's going to be a great fit for you is to go to the campus, to speak to the staff, to get a feel for what the student experience is going to be like, but also to look at the graduate work. So we try to make all of our graduate work as accessible as we can so that people can make a choice about whether it's the right program for them. So you can find us on Instagram. We try and showcase graduate work, but also the day-to-day activities of the program. So you can look on the feed, but also the hashtag MDXPD. We encourage staff and students to use the hashtag to tag their work. So it's an interesting way just to browse and get a feel for what it would be like to study with us. We've also got a program magazine, and those that I'll be seeing on campus, I'll give a physical copy of the magazine to, which has a breakdown of not only activities around the department and the particular program, but details of every single student project. So again, really great to get an insight into saying, is this the kind of product designer that I might want to be? Thank you.
Well, thank you so much to our academics. We had so much information, and if you have any questions, please pop them in the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen and we can go through them now. Just as Kate was saying, we do have open days coming up. So our next open day is the 25th of February, and we do have campus tours. They are taking place tomorrow. So you can pop by onto campus anytime between 12:30 and 6. and you can take a campus tour. And we also have personal statement support as well. So for any of you that are still wanting someone to read your personal statement, still want those last minute tips, you can bring your personal statement and myself and my colleagues will be there to read and support you through that as well. But I'm just going to stop sharing this, and yeah, if you have any questions, please pop them into the bottom of your screen.
They can be for any of us, I think.
I mean, it was a very informative presentation. Each of the different elements were very well spoken about. Okay, so one of the questions we've got is, are there any specific briefs that you want to see in a fashion portfolio? For example, an architecture inspired one?
Okay. Oh. Lovely question. Hi, Anna. Thank you for asking that question. You know what? There isn't a set rule, but of course, looking at architecture, you can never go wrong. Especially architecture fits perfectly with looking at silhouette, shape, even quality of fabric you might want to work with. You might be inspired by a very curvaceous building or something that's very rigid and angular, and that can dictate the kind of fabric you might want to use. So that could definitely be a starting point or to build your brief around. Absolutely. Again, as I said in the presentation, you might go to a certain exhibition that's on at the moment, a local one or one that's going on down in London. I don't know where you're based. And you might feel like, I'm actually really inspired by this, or I want to do some more research into this. Then by all means, get stuck into it and build a brief around that. It could even be that you've got a photograph or you're into photography, and you might want to explore that as well and bring it into the area of fashion design and garment building, or even textile. So I think, again, just how does what you're looking at best reflect, or can you get the best of your skills out of what it is you're looking at or wanting to base your brief on, if that makes sense. But again, don't overcomplicate it. Pick something. You know, we know you're going to have like 100 other ideas in your mind, especially as a creative person. We've always got 100 ideas going in our mind. So pick one thing, stick at it, and say, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to definitely look at architecture and explore it, and show us something amazing. Hope that answers your question, Anna.
Thank you for that, Iman. So the next question is, which might be quite a broad question, so maybe all of you want to chip in, but are there any grade requirements?
Anyone want to chip in on that? I think that is quite a broad question, actually, and I think there are kind of sort of university set requirements, I think, but beyond that, generally all I'm looking for somebody creative and passionate. Like Kate said, I want to see someone that cares about this, someone that really loves what they do, someone that loves design, someone that loves to be creative. That's really what we're looking for. So for me personally, it's portfolio and seeing what you've got. That's the really important bit to me.
Yeah, completely.
Go on, Katie, sorry.
Sorry, no, I was just going to say I completely agree. So it's the enthusiasm, it's the quality of work that's in the portfolio, but even if there's stuff missing from the portfolio, somebody who's really excited about design and studying with us and the way that we work at Middlesex, that's what we're looking for.
Absolutely.
I would just say on the back of that as well, guys, is that definitely I agree with Ben and Katie, but then also if we feel as though you may not be entirely ready to undertake a degree or a fashion degree in particular, I can only speak for fashion, because we know it's very intense and it does require a certain level of dedication and skill. We will not like pull the wool over your eyes. We're going to tell you the truth and say, have you actually considered doing a foundation, a fashion foundation? We do one here. So we will always suggest that to you first as an option. I myself did a fashion foundation and it didn't hinder me at all. If anything, it helped me to excel on my degree. So I think there's also that element as well, where here at Middlesex, we're not going to say, yeah, come on, and we know you're not going to do well. No, we're very much honest and real and say, you know what, we can see you've got some potential here. Have you considered doing this? Or how have you tried doing this? Or over summer, I suggest that you do this workshop, etc., to make sure that you are ready to undertake a degree, because we don't want to set you up to fail either, if that makes.
Yeah, and Aman's making a really good point there, actually. And some people are ready for it right away. Some people need a little bit more work on it. So you might be a totally different background, for example. Perhaps you've studied science or through A-level or something, but actually you've gone, you know what I'm really passionate about is art and design. That's the direction I want to go. And we do have foundation courses for that reason. We've got a foundation for art and design as well, which will kind of feed photography, animation, 3D animation and gaming and so on, so all through the art school, but also for interiors too. So if you kind of, you haven't quite got a portfolio, you're kind of feeling, actually I just want to get into this a little bit more, then the foundation might be a really good starting point for you, and that's totally open. I think the best suggestion is apply really, and show us you're interested, and then we'll try and point you in the right direction from there.
Definitely.
Thank you for that. So another broad question, what jobs do students tend to go into after the courses?
Excellent. Who wants to go first? My mic's on, isn't it? For interiors, I think obviously interior designers and interior architects, there's a huge amount of potential out there. So there's a lot of jobs in that industry. There's a lot of buildings that need designing. It's a great thing. Like I was saying in my talk and presentation, though, I think we wear many hats actually in interiors. We do a lot of photography. We do bits of illustration. We do a lot of graphic design as well. We do photography. Kind of all these aspects come together to help us communicate kind of what we do. So actually, a lot of people I studied with back in the day, they've actually gone off into various different directions in work. I've got a friend who's a photographer for a magazine now. I've got a friend who works as an architect for Norman Foster. There's kind of lots of various people in different positions through the kind of creative range, if you like. So I think there's a huge amount of potential for jobs beyond where we are, certainly for interiors, and I'm sure the same is true of the other courses too.
Shall I go next? Okay, so product design, really broad area, and again, our graduates go in lots of different directions across product design and also product design engineering. So everywhere from Dyson to Tesla to London consultancies to their own startups. So incredibly broad. And what we do is we take people through the program, and generally by the time they're putting together their final major project in the final year, they've got a sense of the kind of designer that they think they want to be. And so we work with them to make sure that their final major project represents the skill sets that they want to take them into the kind of job that they want to be applying for. Because obviously portfolios are the way that you get your next job too. So it's a kind of continual process, but an incredibly broad range of careers, because what we're doing is we're teaching people to think creatively. We're teaching people to be great communicators, great problem solvers, and they're incredibly transferable skills.
I would add as well, Sky, I think, I don't know about the other two courses, but I think interiors, we have a lot of links with interiors firms and architects throughout London in particular. And we actually have the option of a placement year after year 2 to go and work for a company. So you can sort of, it will continue putting you in touch with that kind of professional side of things from our course.
I can just talk for FCS students, but as I mentioned, there are multiple different pathways for all the students to work with: photography, styling, art direction. A lot of our students do very well in terms of their work experience, which happens in the second year, and tend to get very good contacts in the industry then. So a lot of them work with publications. They also then go on to work with freelance stylists or art directors, creative directors. But we work in a very broad range. There's multiple different pathways for the FCS course. And like I said, we're always at the kind of the forefront of thinking about what the next communication process will be. So we're looking at a lot of like digital media at the moment, video production, and also 3-dimensional scanning and design for products and fashion objects as well. So, yeah.
And I'll just say for fashion guys, well, I'll start off by saying that you will have an expectation of what you want your life to look like after your degree. And it may well look like that, but most likely it won't. So in terms of jobs, I think being open, and just as Ben did mention with the interning opportunity with fashion design as well, in second year, you have a internship module. So at the moment, our second years are all out working in industry in and around London. We've had previous students work abroad. We had one of our final years work with a brand in Saudi Arabia. So there's opportunity there. And also after your second year, if you feel like you're not ready to go into final year and you want to explore, you know, you as a working creative, then you have the opportunity to intern for that whole academic year. And I think we're free. We're the only university that don't charge you for that interning year, if that's what you decide to do. But in terms of post degree, we have students go on to starting their own brands, and we have a student called Miles Daniels who works with sometimes works with us. He's got his great brand. We've had a student, Martine Rose. She's just had one of her collection pieces in the Masculinities exhibition. We've had students go on to work in PR firms as well. Even though you've done fashion design, and I can speak for myself, you know, your skills definitely lend you to other disciplines within fashion. I've had friends who have gone on, who did fashion design degrees and have gone on to start their own branding companies, and who live up north and are, you know, they're hotcakes. Everyone wants to go to them for branding, or started their own sustainability brand. My friend started hers, it's called Wild Strings, and she's up north as well. So don't just like hold yourself and think, I'm going to do fashion, I want to start my own brand, I want to work with this fashion designer. That may be the case, absolutely. But again, when you intern and when you come, we will help you find your internships and train you and help you, you know, get ready for that. But you will find out what you don't like to do. And some of you may be surprised. You might think, actually, I don't want to work in a studio with a designer. I actually want to work in PR, etc. So just be open. Don't think of the end goal or what you're going to do too much, because that can really hinder you. Instead, you know, go with the process. Be open to what you learn, and keep looking for new opportunities, new doors to open, because I'm sure all the skills that you learn across any of the programs that we've spoken about today, you can use in different fields as well. So don't limit yourself, but be hopeful, and there is a job and a place for you post-degree.
Thank you for that. So we've got another question. Is there something that automatically makes a student stand out from another? For example, having done work experience or having made more garments that will get them an offer over another student?
Okay. Good question. I actually really like that question, and I think that's an important question to ask. So for me, a student that stands out is somebody who, number one, is personable, someone that you can be around. Number one, they're kind. I don't like to use the word nice, but they're approachable, get on well with their peers, because us as tutors, we recognize that immediately. We see the dynamics within a classroom. So we just want to see how you communicate. Definitely, if you've worked with people or have a job, or if you intern somewhere over summer, that tells us that you're ambitious, that you are thinking about the box, and that you're serious about what it is you want to get into. Also, if again, you might have a gift in painting or illustration. I have fashion design students that are amazing drawers, they're fantastic at illustration, and it's a gift. So we want to see those things again, but definitely don't overthink it and go back to basics. Check your attitude, your character. Are you punctual? These things seem basics, but they really do set people apart when the degree starts getting going. So I think those things as well are just as important as, you know, you may have, you know, your godmother may be, you know, someone at Vogue, or you've already worked somewhere, or you travel a lot. Great, but go back to basics. Character, are you personable? Do you communicate well? Are you punctual? Are you somebody that other people can be around as well? And knowing who you are or wanting to know more about who you are doesn't hurt either. So that's what I would say in my opinion.
Absolutely. I think that was mostly a fashion-based question, wasn't it? But I do agree with Iman. It's actually, you can often overdo it and actually just be yourself. Show us who you are as a person. I think as a general comment to anyone putting something forward, show us who you are.
Again, completely agree. And I think one thing just to note is sometimes it's not the people with the what you could consider to be the best portfolios that are the ones that stand out. Sometimes we want to see you shining through. We want to see your excitement and passion and opinions. Now, even if you're somebody who's really shy, we don't expect you to come across and be ultra confident. But just to have thoughts about the work that you've done, things that you'd like to do more of. Those are the kind of conversations that we want to have.
Thank you. So we have another question about how long after I apply do I have to send my portfolio?
So I'm slightly different here. So for product design, you'll need to bring the portfolio on the day. So you'll select and meet the tutor date and come and meet us on campus.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the boundaries are for us in terms of interiors. We kind of submit digitally online, so we will look at them as soon as you upload them. Really, I don't think there's too much timeline in terms of that. So just upload them as soon as you can, and we'll have a look at them.
I think for fashion, it's similar. So when you upload your personal statement, so when you apply, upload your personal statement, just add in your portfolio, just do it as soon as possible, because we don't want to be chasing or having to, figure out how come this link isn't working. So as soon as possible. So when you do your personal statement and apply, portfolio as well.
And the same for FCS as well. So the sooner that you apply, the sooner that we get to actually have a look at those portfolios. And if there is any queries like that, we might suggest a foundation year, then that would be the sooner that you'd have that information for yourself as well. So really working on it as soon as you can get that to us.
Thank you for that. So I think that was our last question. So I just want to say a huge thank you to all of you for taking the time out, for giving such an informative and thorough presentation about all the different portfolios. And yes, like they said, if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to pop them an email. And I hope everyone has a lovely evening.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.